if you haven't done the strategic bit of understand your customers, your market, your pricing, your model, your delivery, if you're not putting them all right, then it's not going to happen.
Today's episode promises to be an eye-opener as we explore the often overlooked synergy between sales and marketing. Two bedfellows cut from the same cloth, but at different ends of the table, usually. In an industry where precision and collaboration are paramount, the integration of sales and marketing functions holds the potential to be a game changer. Yet, despite their inherent alignment towards common goals, these two pillars of business strategy often operate in silos within the construction industry, missing out on the powerful impact they could achieve together. Think about it. Marketing lays the groundwork, crafting compelling narratives and creating brand visibility, opening doors, while sales is on the front line, nurturing relationships and closing deals. When these forces unite seamlessly, the result is a formidable alliance that not only drives revenue, but also fosters long-term growth and sustainability. So why does this powerful combination remain elusive to many, especially within the construction industry? How can we reduce the possibility of failure and look to almost certain success? Throughout this episode, we'll walk through the answers to these questions, exploring the nuances of sales marketing integration within the unique landscape of construction. From crucial shifts to technological innovations, we'll examine the factors shaping this paradigm and uncover actionable insights that can empower us to succeed in today's competitive marketplace. But who is our guiding light here? Andy Hamer is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Gorilla Team Associates, specializing in fractional sales and marketing for B2B tech firms and startups, spanning hardware, networking, services, and SaaS, shaping innovative go-to-market strategies, addressing the needs of emerging startups and global corporations. Throughout an expansive 40-year career, you wouldn't believe it to look at him, Andy has secured esteemed senior management and board positions in renowned firms, including Marconi, Strategic Analytics, Equant, Informa, Wong's Electronics, and Bentley Systems. More recently, he's delved into architecture, engineering, and construction, working at senior and board levels in institutions like Codebook, XYZ Reality, and Archdesk. Andy has a BA Honours in Marketing Engineering, which is always a good start for what he does. He's a certified BIM Information Manager, again, fantastic, and authored a book on structured data management in BIM, as well as achieving the status Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, FCIM. Andy, welcome, and is there anything I missed off that glorious bio?
No, I don't think so. I'm almost embarrassed by it.
Yeah, it reads well, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I guess that's what happens when you've been around a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get started. I want to add loads of value into this one because it's something that's really close to my heart, and I think we're pre-recording discussions. I think it highlights, or it certainly highlighted how passionate we both are about this subject, which is sales and marketing. So I'm going to put you on the spot here and give you a scenario to work through. According to a Begbie Trainer Red Flag Alert report from 2023, nearly 6,000 construction companies in the UK were in danger of going out of business, with a further 1 in 5 companies in a less critical but still concerning state of finance distress. Big words, I know. There'll be many reasons for these failings, and we've mentioned them before on the podcast: rising costs, slow supply chain, Brexit, skill shortage, all that kind of jazz. These failings aside, you've been asked to step in to one of these organizations. Clean slate. What would you advise them to be or to get market ready this time around?
Oh, that's an interesting scenario.
And it's a nice warm up, I feel.
It's a nice warm up there. I mean, the gut reaction is that you go in and you just start ripping stuff apart. Okay, you say everything's wrong and nothing's right. I take a completely different approach. Is some of it's right, some of it's wrong, but I don't know which it is. And I think well, no, it's true. And I think part of it is also, if you're going to go in and do that, you need everybody else to be behind you. So actually, the way I would approach is I go and talk to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's and all.
Yeah.
Tell me what you tell me. This is never going to go back to anybody up senior or whatever else. Tell me what you think. Where are we going wrong? Where are the problems? And the chances are the people who get the most honesty are the guys on the tools.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the ones that are having to deliver. So they're seeing the thin end of the wedge of decisions have been made up there about bidding for stuff and not looking at it from a completely cost perspective. Because honestly, I wouldn't invest in a construction company if they were the last thing on earth. Because I mean, their margins are so thin. You know, I mean, I come out of electronic subcontract, and trust me, that's leaner, meaner than leaner. But construction, you're making it up as you're going along. It's just ridiculous. So I think the environment itself is toxic, and that's a difficult one to deal with. It's not something particularly one company can go and sort out. But I think the point is looking at all the contracts that you've got involved in, see where they're at, look at the cost base, and see, and you know, maybe you have to go back and have that honest conversation piece with some of these people you're doing constructing for. It's like, guys, can't do that anymore. And I remember being in Manchester talking to the guy behind Peel Holdings, and they were having a massive amount of problems with people bidding 5 years in advance of a project with a price. And then obviously now with everything's gone on, trying to deliver it, you know, you can't. I mean, there's no point. You have to have that honest conversation. And they say, well, what do you want to do? Do you want me to go bust? Or should we have an honest conversation here about what needs to be done? Now, there are things that people can do. You can go and look and see where you can reduce your costs. Right? Absolutely. You know, there'll be places where you've increased costs where you probably didn't need to. When the money was rolling in, it was all right, blah, blah, blah. So sometimes you need to go and look at that as well to see what, you know, so you're playing your part.
Yeah.
But but sometimes you've got to go back and be blunt and say, I can't do it for that amount of money. I'd be better off not doing it. I'd be better off stopping now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what everybody wants to hear. But when you get in a situation, you see a guy on a train going into London, and we're talking about building, and the bid thing he's just put in, and he's been told, well, don't put that bid in. You're not going to win. If you put that bid in, you'll win, and you'll get your money back later, right? Well, that's no way to run a business. It really isn't. And I think there needs to be a change in transparency across the whole supply chain about how much money people need to make money, because we're not here. It's like once said to some guy broker in one of the Queen's brokers down in Canary Wharf, does it say charity on my forehead? And he said, and I know it's a bit blunt, but sometimes you've got to be like that. Is we've all got to make money. The question is, how much have we got to make? And that's the approach you've got to make. I don't think it's actually a marketing problem. I think it's more of a commercial problem than a marketing problem. And it's not even a sales problem, because you're getting the business. It's a commercial problem. It's how are you pricing, how are you costing, you know, and you know from looking, you know, things are what's it? Hang on. Mostly 30%, was it 30% delayed, 50% over budget? So if you're doing a £100 million project, you've actually got to find 150 million to deliver that. Yeah. So it all comes back to, I think, at the beginning of making sure everybody knows what they're doing, and then pricing and sitting down and working out how much it's going to cost to deliver it, and not doing that. There's too much of that going on. It's like with HS2. That's a typical one of HS2. How much is it going to cost? 100 billion. Oh, we can't say that. Say 50 billion. And then worry about it afterwards. And that's why we are where we are with that one. We shouldn't be hiding how much we're paying for things. It should be
absolutely. So just digging a bit deeper on that then, if you were a tech startup within the construction industry, other than say don't do it, what how are we going to break into a construction market and make it viable? Like, because if people that have been around are struggling, how are we as a new tech startup, which need to invest millions just to get the product off the ground, going to make money?
It's an interesting one. I stood up at the construction productivity conference about, oh God, it must be 3 years ago now, maybe 2. And I said, look, you're not going to like this, but you're not investing enough money in technology. And they looked at me and going, well, you're a vendor, you're bound to say that. I said, no. I'm telling you that from outside looking in. I'm going, if you look at any other industry that's gone through transformation, forget digital transformation, it's a meaningless term, but transformation to make yourself run them more efficiently, it's done on technology. So the point is that the businesses need the technology, and they are investing, but they're not investing enough. But I do think there's a lot of startups have piled into construction with very narrow offerings and not really thought about it. And I don't think I think it's about really understanding people's motives, challenges, gaps, risks, and then saying, right, well, if I can, how do I prove that this widget or this solution I've got is going to save you a lot of money? And I always work on the basis, if I for every $1 you pay, I save you 10, which means that actually I've saved you 9 because you're paying for me in that 10. Then it's a no-brainer. And it's looking at it from that perspective of whatever you're doing, how can you make it such a proposition that nobody can afford not to do it?
Yeah, no-brainer.
It's got to be no-brainer. And you look at some technology and you're going, ooh, it's very good, but what does it actually, what financial benefit does it really offer? I mean, intangibly, can you prove that? It can be a bit difficult in the early days. I mean, I come out of the computer industry, and we had great difficulty with the particular innovative product I was dealing with at the time to prove the return on investment against Amstrad. You couldn't argue against it because they were cheap, cheerful, and you're going to throw them away after 6 months. But at the time, because it was still early on, people were looking at it, well, why are you charging me £10,000 for that when I can buy one of Alan's for 1,000? Well, that's not built to be in an office being bashed at 24 hours. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. But it's that sort of thing. Is how do you get that proposition? So the value's there. It can be proven. And it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's strange because it's to simplify that. It's almost like you've got a problem, I've got a solution, and it's cost effective, and it's the golden triangle.
It's keep it simple.
Yeah.
The more complex you make it, the more difficult it is to sell it.
So I just want to move on a little bit because you've hit on a touchy subject for me there, and I'm hoping you'll agree on it. I feel we've got a good grounding in what we're talking about here. 1, don't enter construction. 2, if you're in construction, leave it. 3, no, that being a bit flippant there, but we've got a good grounding for what we need to do if things are going a bit backwards. So let's say solid foundations to build on, but I'd say a lot of organizations would turn to you and rather than try it on their own because of your skills and ability and experiences. But if they do try it on their own, the worst thing they can do is go to Google. But I thought, right, okay, let's just play devil's advocate, turn to Google and say, what do I need to know if I'm going to do my own marketing? Okay. So this came up, as you can imagine, with a few suggestions, of which one of them was 75 key marketing terms you should know in 2023, an A to Z dictionary of marketing terms and definitions, the ultimate dictionary of marketing terms you should know, which cover 100 terms such as closed loop marketing and smarketing and churn rate. What is going on here? Do we need to know all this? Is there all
No,
these new terms and things that are coming out that we must know?
no,
Oh, okay.
no.
Right. Next question. No, go, please elaborate on that.
No, I mean, yeah, look, you've got to know some basic stuff, but I think you can disappear in the terminologies. I mean, the question is, right? You've got to charge a price, and you've got to know the cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got to decide what you got to understand that. Can you actually develop it for the price that somebody's prepared to pay for it? Is the margin good enough? Is there enough people that will buy it? All those sort of things. Yeah, churn is your killer. Retention is everything. I say retention is absolutely everything. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. And in the SaaS word, retention is sanity. And the point is understanding what you need to wrap it around the products, all the services that need to go around with it to make it. And these, we're not using any. Have I used any acronyms yet? I've never used. I'm not using any of these big words yet. No, you don't need to know any of that. It's as simple as, it's like making a cake. It's as simple as, can you making it easy for somebody to buy, understanding their buying journey or purchasing journey. There's no such thing as a sales cycle. There's a buying cycle. A few of these words are quite important, but dump the 120. Just think about it from a common sense perspective. It's as simple as that. Go down the market and see how they do it on the market. They're not using, like go down to Berry Market where he's selling your black puddings, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what you're going to get. Keep it simple. Fill a business plan full of 120 terms like that, and you've got a business plan. Don't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's meaningless, it's yeah. So no, I mean, as I said to you earlier, I mean up until 18 months ago, I didn't know what RevOps was. Should I? But it's a bit more complicated than that. But yeah. So I think we can get. I do find it quite strange when I see every sort of couple of months there's some new term come out, and when I look under the bonnet, I go, "Oh, you mean a market entry strategy?" Okay,
yeah,
all right, okay, keep it simple. It's common sense.
I think you can even simplify it even further, and it's so you need a marketing strategy, and that marketing strategy is focused on entering a market. Oh, okay, right, got you. So it's the same things. Oh, you're currently in a market and you want to increase your market share. Oh, so you need a marketing strategy that increases market share. Right, got you. Like it all comes back to the same thing, doesn't it? It's the same principles. It's the same. So I started my marketing. Let's see. I was gonna go journey. Don't like that word. I was gonna say knowledge. Maybe not. Then I was gonna say love affair, but that's, I think, a bit strong. But I started to understand marketing about 20 years ago. I'm guessing you go back a little bit further than that, having 40 years of experience.
Just a tad, yeah.
So I could honestly turn around and say, if you pulled the hood back and looked at what you need from a marketing planning strategy, start from the ground and build it up, it's pretty much the same as it was 20 years ago. Would it be the same as it was 40 years ago?
Yeah. I think I keep coming back to those core things that we need to do. You know, were we piling buildings 40 years ago? Are we? You know what I mean? That's the foundation. There are some things that are core. It doesn't matter how much time has gone by; they're still core, and they still need to be done. You know, SWOT analysis is still important. They're still relevant. You ignore them at your peril. I actually went to marketing because my dad was in sales. Because I
Okay.
didn't quite want to do what he did, but he was very good at it. And I looked around at all the different degrees, and I came across this degree at Huddersfield called marketing engineering. I thought, well, what can I do like that? I don't know what marketing is, but we'll find out. I like the engineering bit. Don't want to do business studies. It's a bit too hairy-fairy, not specific, you know. And then when I looked into marketing, I went, oh, this is really quite good stuff. This I don't want to do that. Well, we didn't even have things like B2C back 40 years ago, or B2B. You know, it was either consumer, you know, sell it to people, or sell it to, or, you know, whatever. And I looked at it and went, oh, I can see this. I don't want to do the B2C stuff, but I can see this marketing stuff is going to be quite important in the what we now term as B2B. So it was quite early days on doing all of that stuff, and in some respects it was hard work because, you know, it's like, well, we don't really need any of this stuff because we just churn a couple of thousand of these things out. But it's, you know, in time it's become evident that everybody needs marketing. Just depend. Yeah,
absolutely. And I suppose it's cutting your cloth accordingly from that respect, in terms of what you can afford to put towards that discipline, and what you expect the outcomes to be. It's all about, for me, it's all about being realistic with both your approach and both what you expect to achieve. I'm avoiding the word viral because it's utterly pointless going there, but it amazes me how a lot of organizations feel that, and you can blame easy access to more channels and to get to the people you want to influence a little bit easier. But it's amazing how much pressure organizations put on channels and doing things for free and quickly, with the expectation that that is going to drive long-term profits. Basically, it's quite shocking, really.
it's a bit like the story I once said to me, selling software, right? It's like, imagine you say you want an apple, right? I want an apple. How much is the apple? The apple's £1. Oh, can I have a bit of a try at this apple? Yeah, you can have a bit of a try. Okay. Oh, I've taken a chunk out of it now. I think it's only worth 75p, not £1. You imagine going down to Tesco's and going, I want to try one of these apples. I'm going to take a bite out of it, and if I like it, I might buy it. Right? The security guy's going to throw you out, and you're right. I think that the internet, in some respects, has created a dilemma in terms of free. I don't think people value things if they're free.
Yeah.
You can give away a little. It depends on, but you can. And that's the problem. You can get. I've seen it where people give away free, and because they haven't put any sort of smart measures against it, then you know, people go, well, I need a bit more free because I'm not convinced yet, and that just drags on. And then you know, as a small startup, you can't afford that. There are ways and means around that, but free is really dangerous.
Yeah.
It can soak up a lot of resource. It's like LinkedIn, isn't it? You know, I mean, how much time we all spend on LinkedIn. You know, funnily enough, the number of people in fact, I was in a meeting earlier this week. We're going, But we do a lot on LinkedIn, but actually that's not how we get our business.
So as we mentioned earlier, there are a lot of companies within construction that have gone bust or are in danger of going bust. And from a tech perspective, they might be looking to enter the construction industry or any market for that matter. And it's well, whether they're successful or not, it's neither here nor there. Some will be, some won't be. But for those that are already in a marketplace, they're out there, they're active, they've got a viable product, say. How can we start to reduce possibilities of failure in the future? We're already in the market, we're doing all right, could do better, could do worse, but we want to do better and we don't want to dive. How do we reduce these possibilities of failing?
I come back to retention. Too many companies, and don't get me wrong, we need sales. Too many companies spend too much, their emphasis is on getting sales, right? And promising things and overlooking things that actually are detrimental to the client. And what then happens is when you come to want to retain them after 12, 18 months, and remember, you may not cover your cost of sale for 18 months, 2 years or 3 years, right? If you've overpromised and underdelivered, you're going to lose clients. So my view is, and I said this, and it's unpopular, is during discovery, if I work out that I can't deliver what somebody wants, then I'll tell them, because there's no point. Because the reality is, all I'm doing is I'm getting a client, absolutely, one done that. Then you're making retention a pain in the backside. Customer success is difficult, right? Because the customer's immediately going to be unhappy from the get-go, and it's costly to keep them going. So it's important during discovery, if you want to be successful, is that you only work with clients that you can, okay, let's put an arbitrary figure out there. You can deliver 80% of what they want, because you're never going to be able to deliver 100% anyway.
Yeah.
But bearing in mind when you're going down that discovery, that you're making sure that every time you make a sale, it's an economic sale. It's worth doing. It's worth having them on board, because they'll consume all your profit and the profit of all the other profitable customers, right? By simply soaking up resource, by everything's wrong, it needs people to deal with. So, people are getting involved in all these meetings. It just soaks time and money up. So from effect to reduce failure, from my perspective, is make sure the client is the right client and make sure that you sell them what you can deliver. I would rather under-promise and over-deliver. And I see many startups going the other way because they're desperate. And they think by getting that sale, they're actually securing their future. And actually, and that's not exactly the opposite. They're stoking up problems, because the reality is then is you've got this, you get 18 months into it, depending on whether you sign them up for 2-3 years or whatever the deal you've done. And all you're doing is in 3 years' time, your sales go like that.
Yeah.
Because you're losing and going, well, they seem to be happy, but they weren't happy, and everybody's hiding the fact they're not happy, right? Because they have to. And that to me is the link between discovery and retention is the two big things. I'd rather see a sale go south and know that I've lost. You could tell they were going to be a pain in the ass. Am I allowed to say that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the point. Yeah, it map it out, and and I think also we see in the early stages a lot of startups coming to construction is that they've got to make these numbers, right? We got this stuck with the VCs now, the SaaSes. You got to grow this by this and this and that, and construction's. And I think that's the whole model's broken in with SaaS in the construction market, is because VCs don't understand the construction market. They don't understand conservatism in the length of time and the fact they're risk averse, and they don't like spending money and so on and so forth. So you've got a runway that's not long enough, which forces you to try to bring clients on board to keep everybody happy. Yeah, there's a few dynamics going on there, and I don't think that the VC model. There's nothing wrong with having a SaaS model. I think SaaS is great, but it's just knowing it's on the right cycle for the right sector, and they've not planted a model from another sector which is sort of taken off. I'm all for aspirations. I'm all for goals and objectives.
Yeah, for sure.
But it comes back to what you said, Peter. Let's be realistic about it. How many clients do we need to be profitable? At what point? Is the market big enough? Is there enough customers in that? And how long is it going to take us to get to that? How much money do we need to be in a position that we can acquire enough that we can become self-sufficient? We don't need VC money or whatever else, right? And it does seem to me at the moment, we're more concerned about making a company look big rather than being profitable, because we want. It's all about the value of it rather than. Maybe that's the thing that's changed in 40 years. Maybe that's the big difference. Back in my day, it was, it's when you're going to flip into profitability. What is it going to be? Year 2, year 3, year 4? Not what value you're going to be into year 2, year 3, 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting. Right, I want to get onto the crux of the matter here: sales and marketing. I'm a firm believer that good marketing facilitates easier sales. Hopefully, most people listening would agree with that. Side note: I once sat in a meeting for a manufacturer where one of the area business managers really vocally turned around and he essentially said, "You wouldn't have a business if it wasn't for us." To which I said, "Well, hang on, who's going to make the actual products?" To which he said, "Oh yeah, good point." Which wasn't really difficult to dispel that myth of that everybody needs to kind of coexist to make a company work, right? But history shows us and tells us, or at least my history does, that sometimes these two departments don't get along, and in worst cases, they're not even on the same page, right? So I've got to ask, why does it always have to be sales and marketing? Can't we just have marketing? Or if you're a salesperson, can't we just sell stuff?
I actually think, why don't we just call it commercial?
Yeah, let's do that.
That was a term that was in before I started business. I joined the commercial department at Plessy in 1982 for international sales, which included sales and marketing. All right, and you're right. I'm distinctive in the sense that I started in marketing and went to sales when I was 36. And I did that. Well, sort of, yeah, it was a journey. Part of me was like, well, if I don't understand sales, how can I be a senior manager? But actually, from the perspective of a marketing perspective, I need to know how sales responds into sales and sales and vice versa. And you're right. I have seen it where the sales team are doing nothing but dishing the marketing team because they're not having a conversation. And my argument is, I think in startups, I don't want a VP of sales. I don't want a VP of marketing. I want a VP of something. It could be anything. You can call it anything you want to call it, right? And underneath that, you would have heads of sales and heads of marketing, because then you can bang them together when they're not playing. But that's the point, because the last thing you can afford in a startup, or even in those initial years of a business journey, is having sales and marketing going off on one. Yeah, it's like sales wants to go to Liverpool, marketing wants to go to Leeds, and actually I want to go to Manchester. The business needs to go to Manchester, right? So I don't want to bring you back in. I want to bang your heads together, align you, right? Because to some extent he's right. If I'm not out on the street selling, then to some extent there aren't any sales. But it's never as simple as that.
It's a case of those two should be so aligned and so married, basically. Well, married maybe. They should be the best of friends.
Yeah,
because without marketing makes sales easier. And if the sales team are saying to marketing, this is the plan, and marketing are saying to sales, this is the plan, and it's all the same, then it's like sales at the end, an actual sale will make marketing look better, and good marketing should make a sale much easier. So it's baffling when it's like you said. And final point on that, before we started recording, you said, "Oh, I'm not that fussed about titles," and I was just about to say the only title I would have is head of, just simply because you said bash their heads together, and that just makes perfect sense to me.
I mean, I think the thing is that you're right. Marketing makes sales easier, but marketing has to understand that. And I think half the problem is because sales teams are so pressured under quota, and also on the basis of their salaries.
Yeah,
and marketing don't have that same thing. And I had that when I was at GEC. Well, why am I only being paid this and I'm helping them? Oh, well, they're under a lot of stress. Well, they shouldn't really be under a lot of stress. But it's just like, no, you're making it up. But you're right. Sales and marketing, to be successful, need to be aligned. They are part of the same team. They should be part of the same team.
I always find it interesting talking to marketers about sales, or about how they collaborate with sales teams, and usually it's the successful organizations that do that. Cal Surprise. So, final thing I want to ask you, Andy, and it's I'll let you decide on this one, and it's quite simple, so there's no real preamble from me here. But I'd love to finish this episode off. I'd love to get the biggest, or your number one myth in marketing.
Build it and they will come.
I like it. Because I think we spoke about messaging, and we spoke about social media, and various other elements within marketing. And you're absolutely bang right. I just want you to expand on that a little bit, because I think it's important that we understand what we mean by, well, let's just do this and it'll work, as opposed to what good marketing actually is. Can you just elaborate on that to finish off?
Well, there's two parts to it, actually. One of it is build it, and I just do marketing and somehow create a website and a narrative and they will come. The other one is I got a good idea and they will come. And the problem is there's some great ideas out there and they fail miserably because of timing, wrong place, wrong time, lack of enabling technologies and things like that. And sometimes the idea is bad, but nobody's bothered to tell anybody, the person, it really is not a good idea. There's no market for it, whatever else. So I think it's two-sided. One is you can't just build a product and expect people to buy it. And two, you can't just expect to set up a website and it almost automatically sell, because if you haven't done the strategic bit of understand your customers, your market, your pricing, your model, your delivery. I mean, I can't remember how many P's I've gone through there, but it's still 4 P's. If you're not putting them all right, then it's not going to happen. Oh God, yes, you may be lucky, and you may have been at the right time, at the right place, and you've gone viral. But they are so few and far between. And that is always the problem in sales and marketing is, well, I heard such and such, he just set up and wow, he's driving around in a Jag now. Or look at such and such. Look at Bill Gates, right? Everybody thinks Bill Gates is a self-made man. Bill Gates is not a self-made man. Bill Gates got £100,000 from his father. Now, £100,000 when he was given £100,000 is probably a couple of million, right? Plus the fact his mother worked. I can't remember what it was. There was some story about she got him into this meeting at IBM, something like that, right? So sometimes these people who are seen to be leaders in what they are, and somehow they've magically achieved it, is not the case.
You add on top of that as well, though, you're seeing that success. You're not seeing the other 100,000 Bill Gates that might have had 100,000 that might have got into a meeting that didn't make a success of it after that either. You're just seeing that
Yeah.
success and basing it on if you looked at, if we put it in numbers, if you looked at the percentages, then it's like, Christ, you're talking 0.00001% or whatever.
Yeah.
But we don't see that. We just see this as a success and think,
It's
I'm going to emulate that.
But my son said to me, we were talking about Apple about 10 or 15 years ago, and he's going, look at Apple, they're great. Look, they're growing massively. I said, yeah, but son, I said, they were once bankrupt. Now, Apple has never invented anything. Apple has never developed anything that nobody else has developed. All they've been better is in marketing, in the message, and actually in the product delivery.
And that's a really good way to end this in terms of the things you just said there with Apple, because everyone sees it as advertising and branding, which is part of it. But you didn't lead with that. You led with product, and you led with distribution, and pricing comes into that. And then on top of the pricing, because if you know who Apple are, which I'm guessing you are in terms of Macs and laptops and things, that they can get pretty expensive. Well, that comms has to match that pricing. Let's not start with communications anymore. Let's not start with the creative. Let's start with a good idea and build it from that and make sure that good idea is a good idea. Hopefully you agree with that one.
No, I do. And eventually at some point you have to create a narrative around it, which is Apple are really good at. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But fundamentally it's about having a good product, and they do work. And people and you go into an Apple shop, you could walk out and not buy anything because they'll actually tell you that what you want is not what they do, which goes back to what I said to you to start with about in that discovery.
Andy, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, love chatting to you. Your insights are really valuable. You talk a whole host of sense. So just thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed it.
Okay, I appreciate it, Peter. It's been a pleasure.